Hi, welcome. I know it's been such a long time since I've uploaded on this channel properly. Um, I think many of you obviously know with the hiatus and everything that I was kind of looking for a way to um pivot, I guess, and I've been very active on Patreon lately. I've been uploading on the gaming channel, which is always fun if you want to check that out. Um, but I think the one thing that kind of stuck with me when I was thinking about pivoting content and whatever shape or form it may take in the future. I remember that a lot of people were saying that they appreciated just the sound of my voice and just putting me on in the background doing whatever. Um, and so I was thinking, okay, what is something that I can maybe make productive when it comes to that? And so I am thinking of doing this like a series of something that you can completely put on in the background um, while you're gaming or trying to fall asleep or whatever. I can't fall asleep with people talking. So the stuff that I put on when I'm trying to go to sleep is always no talking ASMR and stuff or brown noise or something. But if if it works for you, it works for you. And if I have a voice that happens to put you to sleep, then power to you. So um yeah, I was just thinking of kind of doing this. Um and hopefully maybe just give some advice and just talk about a couple of things that I've noticed in my life and um yeah, just hopefully help out. Which is how why I wanted to label it or call it e-learning because of the pun one, and Foster would be proud. And and two, because I want to see this as like a mutual learning experience. I want to see this as me hopefully teaching something, but also me learning, whether it be through looking up stuff while I'm thinking about it, or you guys giving me input on stuff, or maybe saying, hey, next time, can you check this out? Or maybe can you talk about this? Um, so I'm learning as well. I think that'd be really fun. I love learning and in all different ways. I've I've talked about this before. I wasn't the best student at all. I don't do well with being I was gonna say I don't do well with being told what to do. That's not true. I can follow orders and I'm disciplined and stuff. But I always had this thing of like, why is this important to me? Because see, I grew up writing. I I've talked about this before. I wrote my first book when I was 13. I wrote my first play when I was 10. I wrote a play in sixth grade, last year of elementary school for Americans and stuff. I'm not sure I got the grades right, but like the last year of elementary school, I was 10 years old and I wrote a play that um, we did plays every like few years. And so they were like, if that would have been a year where they did a play, they totally were gonna try and do my play for it, which is crazy in hindsight. Like, imagine if that would have happened. Um, so like, I've always been writing, and it's fun. It's funny now. Like, I work at a pool as a lifeguard, and a couple of days ago, um, one of the elementary schools here in town came to swim, and it was my sixth grade teacher, or one of them, because I had two. And we kind of just like caught up a little bit and stuff like that. And I've seen her around in the past, but she was like, it's so funny because I remember you so vividly as someone who was always writing. And like I got by. I got my grades and stuff. Like it wasn't that I was failing or threatening to be kept behind, but um I was just always doing something else that I deemed more productive with the time. Um, and I still remember her specifically, that teacher. Um, the day something happened with my brother, and she was actually friends with my brother, I think, because they were about the same age, or they went to school together or something. She knew about it, And when I came in, I remember I was upset, and she kind of she took me out of the class and in the hallway, and she was like, "Are you okay?" and stuff. She was checking up on me. And then she was like, "Do you want to write maybe? Do you want to like sit in the back of the class and write for a little bit?" And I have such a vivid memory of that happening, of her just asking me, "Do you want to write?" Because everyone kind of knew that that was like my anchor. That was something that I liked to do, especially when I was like going through it. Um and yeah, I mean I was 10. So ever since then, I just I spent so much of my time in school just writing. And I started when I was like 13, I think. I started kind of pivoting to fanfics. Um and I remember I was mortified. I remember like I sent one of the fan because this is all in English, and I sent my English teacher one of my fanfics to be like, "Can you help me please with this grammatically?" Um I'm so glad that those were lost to the sands of time. Horrible, horrible. Um, but I mean, the idea was there, and I most of my high school experience and stuff was just me writing and um trying not to get caught and just writing in the back of class, writing fanfics like on paper so I could go home and like type them into Word and upload them and stuff. Um so I've always considered writing to be my future. And so I've never really, there were things about school that really interested me. I majored, we have to pick a major in high school. I majored in like psychology, human sciences, sociology, anthropology, that kind of stuff. Because I was just so fascinated by it. I loved psychology. I loved um sociology, cultural studies and stuff as well, but psychology really interested me. Um, because I just think it's so fascinating how people work and how what like the inner thought process of people and how we're all so different and we view the world differently. I just thought that was so fascinating. And I've always said, if film school didn't work out, it was going to be either like linguistics or psychology. Um, and I remembered like it's funny now. I know that I'm not sure if this is like a universal experience. It's probably not, but I remember like especially with like math and physics and stuff like that, and I just remember thinking, what's the point of this? And not that it's not useful, but it's useful in its own niche world. I remember when there were like writing assignments, people in my class would go, "I'm never gonna write, so what's the point of this? Why am I getting graded on creative writing?" Sorry, I just remembered that assignment. I actually ended up doing 3 or 4 people's assignments, no joke. I think it was an excitement. I think it was an assignment, Jesus. Assignment where I was like where you had like a sentence, like a prompt sentence, and you had to start with it. And I had so many ideas and I was frustrated because I had so many ideas and I didn't want to just do one. And there were a couple of people next to me that were like super bored and they didn't want to do it, and I was like, "I could do it." And they were like, "Yeah, sure, win-win." Um I didn't even ask for anything in return. I just wanted to write. But yeah, I mean, I bet people who studied math obviously loved math, and I kind of had the same thing with that. But now that I'm, so many years graduated, um if I look back on that now, I'm like, man, I miss school. I don't necessarily miss all of it, or I'd be like, I miss it now, and then if I had to go back in a week, I would be like, fuck this. But um I miss the concept of it. I miss the structure of it that I lack a lot of in my day-to-day life now. Um, and I am a chaotic person and I am a very like all over the place person. But I kind of appreciate that you come in at you start class at 8:30, you do 2 periods, you have a break, you do 2 periods, you have lunch. It's all like structured, and I kind of miss it. I kind of miss learning. I miss sitting down at a desk and learning things. I don't get a lot of opportunities to do that anymore. And I could go back to school. I mean, I could go back to like college or something, or I could study something, but at this point, I mean, there was a moment where I considered, um I'm talking like 8 years ago or something. I considered going back to school, to college, for 1 year, just to take a bunch of random subjects. Um, but they all pertain to what I was interested in. Because I'm pretty sure you can just take random, like you don't have to get accepted into college here. Um, so I wanted to do like a bit of psychology, a bit of criminology, a bit of like forensic science, stuff, because that's in my wheelhouse, because I write so much crime and stuff. I was like, I don't need to do it for the degree, I need to do it for the knowledge of it. Maybe some like health related or anatomy or something. I was just like, what if I just go crazy for 1 year and I just gather up as much knowledge as I can? Ended up not going through with it. um yeah, and now I kind of feel like I've missed my shot on it. um which is fine. I mean, nowadays everything's just Googleable anyway, but yeah, it's fascinating to me, the whole learning thing. And when I went to film school, obviously the level of theory that we had was abysmal. Not that I minded it per se. I didn't mind that I didn't have like a huge but when you have like college and like finals and stuff, and that's such a big deal, and then the only ones that I had was like in my first year. I had like a couple of theory classes, and it was a joke because most of them were like open book anyway. So I didn't have to do like a lot of like learning anyway. So I think the last time I actually decently had to learn, like had to study for something, I guess, was like, 14 years ago or something. That's crazy. I like learning. So I think what would be fun is if you guys just drop in the comments what you want me to learn, something like that. And then we can see how much of like, because if I start yapping, I can yap for hours and hours and hours, because I'll just jump from one subject to the next, and I'll just, But yeah, I'd like to learn from you guys, and I'd like to help other people learn and stuff like that. So, um, okay, so current life update. So I've been working a lot at the pool. It's been chaotic. It's been fun, but it's also been long, even though I don't do that long of a shift. Um, it's mostly just been, hot, because we're getting ready for a heat wave again, which I love. But the issue is that because the heat wave, I think technically only starts in a couple of days, but because it's been ramping up to heat a lot, and I had to work the entire week, I'm already kind of burnt. I'm already kind of sunburnt in places, and that sucks because I'm like, that means I have to double watch what I do, and it's only gonna get hotter, and it's only gonna get worse. So I need to start like covering up or something. Like I need to be more mindful. And also the issue is that technically, um, sometimes when it's like hot, what I just do is I just throw myself in the pool for a bit. But I can't really, because I'm kind of like, I have I don't know at this point if it's torn, but I have a muscle injury in my chest. And so I can't do a whole lot of rotating. And so I can't do a whole lot of swimming either, which, yes, insert joke because I'm at the pool. But um, I've had to, like, I started work, on Monday. And at this point, I'm like, I had to already do a couple of rescues and stuff this week. And I just plowed through it. In that moment, it's just adrenaline. So you don't think about, like, oh, I'm supposed to be hurting right now. You just don't think about that. But I don't, it's one thing to do a single motion to save a drowning kid, but it's a different thing to actually swim with it and constantly re-aggravate it. Um, so I mean, I'm trying to recover from that, but that all means that I can't really go into the pool and cool down. I can just sit myself down in the pool, but um, yeah, that's not really the same thing to me. Um, but yeah, the chest injury I got because last week, I think on Thursday, um, I wanted to go and bring my computer into the repair shop because it'd been like acting up ever since the last like heat wave a couple of weeks ago. It just randomly started like crashing and like restarting and stuff, and I knew it was like an overheating issue. I figured maybe like the thermal paste was dried out or something, or there was too much dust, but um I bought like canned air and I tried to kind of clean it, but I also knew I had to open it up technically, my desktop, and I was just worried that if I was going to open it up and mess with it, that I was going to break it. So I was like, I'm going to bring it into a repair shop. And I know he's probably only going to blow it out and it's going to be good, but I'd rather just have someone do it and then them be responsible if something happens. Um so that's the thing. I was going to bring my desktop in and I grab it and I lift it up, and I don't know what I did wrong, but it's pretty heavy and pretty clunky. And the second I lifted that thing, it was just like a pain shooting through my chest, my left side. And it was so bad that like I instinctively thought that I was like having a heart attack. Everything just clenched, like all my muscles just contracted and I couldn't breathe. And I was standing there and I was like, I have this this like $5,000-6,000 computer. I can't just drop it no matter how much pain I'm in. So I just ended up kind of just plowing through it and just going down the stairs with it. And then I set it down, at the bottom of the stairs. And I was like, fuck, what do I do? But I was like, I just gotta go. I just gotta go. I was home alone too. Nobody could help me. Um, so I was like, okay. So I unlocked the door and I put it in my car. So I had to pick it up again. And as I picked it up again, it was another like thing of pain. But I was like, I can't do anything without my computer. I have to go. Put it in my computer. Put it in the back of my car. Thankfully, the computer place is only like a 2-3 minute drive, but I couldn't walk it, obviously. So I start driving, and as I'm driving, I cannot breathe. I cannot breathe past without like a sharp pain. And I was like, oh, this is it. um, I knew it wasn't a heart attack because I didn't have any like radiating pain to like my jaw or my neck or my arm, which by the way, learning moment here. Um, if you're a man, your pain in a heart attack will usually, I'm saying usually because it's not always the case, but usually when a man has a heart attack, the pain radiates through the left arm. And that's kind of like a known thing of like, do you have any pain in your arm? But for women, it's much more common to have pain in the back of the neck or it radiates to the jaw. So if you have pain in your chest and pain in your jaw or your neck as a woman, that's concerning. So if you're like, oh, I have chest pain, but I don't have any pain in my left arm, but I do have jaw pain, go call 911 or 999 or 112, whatever the equivalent is in your country. Do it. But yeah, so I'm driving to this computer place and I parked there. There was space in front of the store, thank God. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I cannot get out of this car. Everything hurts. I cannot move. And I definitely cannot pick this thing back up and put it inside. I'm going to die. I knew that I was going to like re-aggravate it and stuff. But I just sat there for like a solid 5 minutes just trying to breathe through it. And then I was like, okay, but I can't just sit here. And the worst part, I'm being dramatic, but I'd planned to go to the gym afterwards. I had the perfect thing planned of like, I'm gonna give the, thank you, Mr. Can you be more dramatic with your motorcycle? Can you be more dramatic? Sorry about that. My window was open. Um, I was like, I'm gonna give them my computer. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna work out. I'm gonna come back. I had a lot of cleaning to do in my room and stuff, and I was like, okay, so today is gonna be the day. Today's gonna be the day I work out, I clean up everything, and then hopefully by the time that's done, my PC's gonna be done. I had high hopes. I had such high hopes. And did you change your mind? Are you just gonna start looping just to fuck with me? Um, but yeah, I was like, okay, so whatever. So eventually I catch my breath enough to get out of the car and I'm like, let's just, I can't go back now. Let's just go for it. So I got all my courage together. I open the door, I grab the computer, and like the stabbing pain comes back and I'm like, "Oh no." And thank God someone just came out of the store and he held the door open for me because I would have passed out, I'm pretty sure. And he was like all nice about it and I was like, "Thank you. Oh my god." And I put this thing down right behind the door. I'm like, I can't go any further. I could not get back up. I was like bent over. I was like, what the fuck do I do? There was no one in the store yet because the employee was like in the back somewhere. Um, and I was like, I am gonna die in this computer store. Like third time in like 5 minutes where I was like, well, this is the end for me. This guy comes in. I do not remember this conversation. I don't know what plane of existence I was on. I think I managed to give the right information. I don't remember what I said. I was in so much pain. Um, and I just told him like, it restarts randomly, blah, blah, blah. And I walk out, go back in, sit down in my car, drive back home, and I stop at the driveway and I'm like, I cannot get out. Once again, I was like, I overdid it so many times, and I know I shouldn't have. Jesus. I'm gonna close my window. It's annoying me. I'm gonna keep talking, pretend like I'm just like in the room or something. So anyway, then I said to her, sorry, that wasn't very ASMR of me, but I'm gonna keep it in just for realism's sake. We're all friends. Um, I'm sitting in the car and I'm like, I cannot get out once again. So I ended up having to call someone just to be like, I need help. I need help. I don't think I'm like dying. I got over that. But I'm like, this is not normal. Something's wrong. Um, because I also had to work the day after and stuff. And I was like, if something's wrong, something's wrong. And I laid down on the couch. I could not catch my breath. I was just like, like, like that. And every time I moved, like my entire chest just like completely like clenched up. And I was like, did I collapse my lung? Like I thought I had like a flail chest or something because I was like, this isn't normal. Um, Ended up like calling the doctor. And they could squeeze me into like an appointment. Um, she couldn't really find the spot that hurt, but she did say like, oh yeah, you probably just tore like an intercostal muscle or something. Um, and that was it. And then Monday I just went back to work. um, yeah, I mean, I just tried to take it easy. I'm very sad that I haven't been able to go to the gym in about a week. I try to move around as much as I can at work. Like I try to not sit on my post all day, but just like move and walk and stuff. And some days are better than others. Like yesterday was a good day, and then today I woke up and I was completely like uh like sore again and stuff, and I can't rotate my upper body too much without pain still. But I also don't take painkillers anymore and stuff, so technically that's kind of on me too. But it's been a wild ride. Um, and then Monday when I started work again, I was like, I'm not 100% sure that this is like okay, but I'm just gonna plow through it. Um, and I ended up having to do 3 rescues in one day. Not dramatic rescues, but just like throwing a rescue thing at a kid to make sure he didn't drown. But just like it's like it's like when you see, and this is routine at this point. Like a rescue is not dramatic. I haven't had to do CPR and stuff yet. But every time you see like a situation like that unfold, and like a lot of near misses, as in kids who like can barely swim but can make it to like, an undeep part of the pool or something, a shallow. Jesus, shallow's the word. Um, it's always this surge of adrenaline, and every time that happens, you kind of jolt, and that jolt is like really painful. And on Monday, we just happened to have this. th- okay, so what happened was, there was a school with elementary school kids with the teacher that I was talking about earlier. The teacher was coming to swim with like a bunch of her kids, and they had like a bunch of different teachers that came with, thank God. But half of these kids could not swim. They were too small, and none of them had floaties on. None of them had anything on. But what one of the teachers, who was the alpha teacher, not my teacher, because she ended up like gossiping as hell to me when she was standing there. She was like, she's always just bitching, and she always thinks she knows what's best. And I'm like, I can tell the second she walked in that she thought she knew what was best, because her idea was, let's put all of these kids who cannot swim in this pool that is too deep for them, because that's where the slide is. And so they can all go down the slide, and I'll be there to catch them. Even though they can't swim, I'll be standing there to catch them. And I'm like, yeah, in theory, that's a safe thing. But the problem is, there's 40 of them, and there's one of you. So the second you miss anything, it goes very wrong. And then I'm supposed to pick up the slack. So what happened was, she sends all these kids up this slide, and a bunch of them are just chilling in that pool, and like she keeps yelling at them like, "Oh, don't be behind me because then I can't see you." And I'm like, just don't let them be there point blank if they can't swim. But she, credit where credit's due. She was alert, and she did like pick them. I can just see these kids falling out of the slide, straight up drowning for like a second and a half, and then she just picks them up and she goes, "Well done, yes." And I'm like, that's not what you should teach children, because you give them this false sense of security that someone's going to catch them, and then the second you're distracted, there's going to be bloodshed. Anyway, she keeps on doing this. Kids keep going down. Technically, it's all kind of safe, but what she does is she she catches them, and then because they come so fast, she catches one. She turns around. She puts it near the shallow part of the water, and then she has to turn around and go catch the next one. And the very key point here is near, because I had to throw my rescue belt 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Because she picked up a kid, put it near the shallow part, and the kid just straight up went under because he couldn't stand. And she didn't see anything. She didn't see it. She already turned around for the next one. And I'm pissed, because I can't tell her anything because she's the alpha teacher and her system works. And I was like, I had half a mind to just kick the entire school out or make all of them wear floaties or shit. But the point is, every time that happened, every time she missed something behind her back, my muscles tensed up because I had to, I had that adrenaline joint. I wish I had that adrenaline jolt. And the couple of times that I actually had to like get off my chair very fast, throw the thing, pull it out and stuff, and I kind of semi re-aggravated something that only had a couple of days to heal anyway. So it's kind of up and down with the thing, but it's fine. It's fine. I'll heal. It's not dramatic. It's not bad. It's just something that needs to have time to heal. Um and unfortunately, with the job, I can't do bed rest. I mean, I could have um gotten more days off, but you know, I like working there, and I need the money. I need to work. So, um yeah, that was crazy. And like today too is like I'm sitting there and I see these two, no, not even two, there's like five of them, five kids. And like three of them look too young. And of course they're alone. I can see the parents like on the grass not participating in their children's swimming. And two of them have like these like built-in floaties into their swimsuit, which is safe. I knew they weren't going to drown, but I hate when kids get left alone like that. Because yes, technically they have floaties on in some cases. In some cases they don't even have floaties on. And the parents just leave them to fend for themselves, and then you end up like having to jump into the fucking water to save them, and then everyone acts all surprised. Um, but these had floaties on. But they were jumping into like the deep end of the pool constantly, and I was like, "What? Like, be anywhere but here. You're tiny. Be in the kids' pool. Be there." And I stop them from jumping in, and I'm just like, "Hey, would you guys not like prefer to be in the kids' pool?" And they're like, "No, that's stupid." And I'm like, "Well, but you guys are alone." And they're like, "No, we're not alone. We have our sister with us." And I'm like, "Where? Where the fuck is the sister?" 2 seconds later, it's by the slides. This girl who could not have been older than 10, not even that, comes out of the slide, sees me talking to her siblings, and goes, "Oh no, yeah, no, I'm the sister. I'm watching them." And I go, "You're not watching anyone. You just came off the slide. You left them on their own." And she goes, "Oh yeah, that's right. That's what I have to deal with." It's crazy. It's crazy. These parents are just watching their kids. Well, not watching their kids. They're watching their kids from a distance, just like, yeah, let the lifeguards be the babysits, I guess. Um, that really sucks. The majority of saves that I've had to do throughout the years, and I've been doing this for a lot of years now, the majority of saves that I've had to do was kids being left alone by parents who cannot swim adequately enough to be able to hold their own. A lot of them were like, they can kind of swim, they do like the doggy paddle kind of swim, which technically, yes, it keeps you above water. But the issue with that is that the second something goes wrong, like they get off the slide, they start doggy paddling towards like the edge so they can hold on to it. The second they get out of the slide and they see that someone's like in front of the edge, or they miscalculate how far they have to go to grab the edge, they panic, and that's when they go down. So you as a lifeguard constantly have to be alert. Every time you see one of those kids come down, you have to be like, okay, I need to watch them until they get out of the pool. And on busy days, there's like 10 of these kids at the same time that you have to watch. Um, I got into an argument once with like, because I talked to one of these kids who was just not older than two. Little ass kid, literally just like barely walking, that was just by the edge of the pool playing with a bucket of like and filling the bucket at the edge of the pool with the water. But this is like a high edge, right? So he had to like lean down to fill the bucket, and I could tell it was going to go wrong. And then I have a choice to either constantly watch this kid and immediately see once he like falls in, or I have to go up to this kid and be like, get the fuck away and go to the kids part. So I do the latter because I want to be preventive and I don't want to have to, save this kid. So I go up to the kid and I'm like, what's the, do you know how to swim? No, of course you fucking don't, because you can't even walk. And I go, I think you should wear floaties if you want to be around here. And I'm talking to this kid. I couldn't have been talking for more than 10 seconds. And I suddenly hear like shouting in my direction. I turn around and I see this dad of this kid behind the fence of the pool. So he's fully clothed. Left his kid who cannot swim, barely two, all on his own, in a risky ass, position with his little bucket. And he starts yelling at me for yelling at the kid. I'm like, first of all, I'm not yelling. Second of all, if I want someone to yell at, I'll just yell at you, bro. He could not understand why I wanted his kid to wear floaties. He's like, just watch him. He said something along the lines of like, I'm watching him, and you're watching him. And I'm like, I'm not babysitting him. I'm watching the entire pool. I'm not watching your kid, you know. Um, that was crazy. I have a lot of like horror stories. I don't know if I ever told any of them. Okay, let's see. Let's see what like the top crazy stories are. Okay, so okay, one time we have a diving board, a high diving board, 3 meters, 3 meters high, like 10 feet. And like 15 minutes before the whole pool closes, we close down like the diving board and the slides and stuff just to kind of start, you know, making people head towards the exit and stuff. And on busy days, you have to like physically stand in front of the stairs up to the diving board because we have like a chain that we put on it, but people just get underneath the chain and stuff and blah blah blah. And I was tasked with closing down the slide, the diving board. And so I put the chain on there. I stand there for about a good 2 minutes. People come up, people say, what's going on? I go, it's closed. We close in 15 minutes. We got to close everything down. People try to get underneath me, like underneath my arms, to get up there. I'm like, I need every iota of willpower. And bear in mind, this is a hot day because it was busy. So this is like a 30 Celsius degree day where there's a lot of people. I've had a long day. I've been in the sun all day. I'm ready to go home. So my patience is thin. So it took every iota of willpower that I still have left not to like start shoving people. Because the audacity, I'm here. I'm like a person who has authority in this pool. Try to get underneath me like I'm like an obstacle. That's crazy. Anyway, I was standing there for like a good 2-3 minutes. And eventually I was like, okay, I think everyone got the fucking message. So I turn around and I go back to my post. And I took maybe 2 or 3 steps before I hear that chain jingling. And I turn around and I see that this little girl, not even like, a mischievous guy or like a man, like not even that, a little girl, not even 10 years old, got underneath the chain and she went up to the diving board. And I'm like, okay, 1, there's a chain that you saw. 2, you saw me standing there, so you're not allowed to do it. So I channeled all of the energy and I channeled it into whistling as loud as I could at this kid. I have a whistle. I didn't like dog whistle at her. I have a whistle and I whistled so loud And I motioned to her, like, get down from there right now. Like, don't jump off the board, walk down the stairs and come down there right now because you're not allowed to be on there. And this kid looks at me with these like wide eyes, like, why are you whistling at me? I'm like, you're not, I told her, I'm like, you're not allowed. It's closed. Stop. And because I talked a little sternly, perhaps, which might have been my mistake in sorry, in hindsight, but I'm also like, listen, I don't make the rules. I follow the rules and everyone else should too. She's standing up there and she looks at me and she starts crying because she's overwhelmed because I'm like being stern at her and whistling at her. And she had quite a bit of family with her that day. And so what they probably saw is me screaming at this little girl that is standing on top of the diving board having a panic attack. And this was like 10 years ago or something. I was surrounded in like the blink of an eye. I don't know where they all came from. I don't know what like it was crazy. I was saying to this girl, raising my voice cuz she was up on the diving board being like, "Get down right now." And I'm instantly surrounded by at least 20 people, ranging from like little kids to like grown ass men that could knock me out in a single punch. And they're all aggressive at me because they're all like, what the fuck's your problem? Why did you do that? Why did you yell at her? And I try to find like a single adult in the thing to kind of just talk to and be like, listen, these are the rules and stuff. Escalated so fast. And I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong. Um, I tried to de-escalate, but yeah, like the good news is that on busy days like that, there's security at the pool, and I think there was police at that point, or they were patrolling in the area. Um, but like security and the police came pretty quickly to try and get me out of there. I wasn't like, like I don't remember anyone shoving me or anything, but it was just kind of I couldn't get away. I was crowded. So I think my like colleagues saw that I was kind of in trouble and immediately just raised alarm on it. And I remember that like police came down. They had like shields and stuff. They had like a bulletproof vests and stuff like that. It was crazy. I was like, that's kind of like an over dramatic. They're just all in like swimming trunks, but um, yeah, they were prepared for a riot, I think. Uh, but yeah, I mean, then the police just kind of came, kind of just asked me what happened. I told them like it's just, and the kid was. That's the funny part is that I was surrounded, but the kid was still standing there. The kid was still standing on top of the diving board, and eventually one of the adults in that group was just like, just fucking jump or something, or like either get down or jump, because they realized at some point in the middle of that chaos that I was pointing to this girl, being like, she's stuck there and she's not allowed to jump off. And I remember one of the adults looked up and was like, "Oh, she's right." And then he started talking to the girl, being like, you know, get down, pick, as in like either just jump off or come down by the stairs, but just pick. You can't just stand there crying. Um, but yeah, that was. I mean, it was close to closing time anyway. So by the time that whole thing was handled, it was closing time, and then they just police escorted me to my car because they were afraid that someone was going to jump me in the parking lot. But no one did. I don't think I've ever been assaulted. Verbally, I've been assaulted, but I haven't been like physically assaulted yet. Um, I'm trying to think. Another good one, another story was that okay, this is just a stupid thing, but there was a moment where, again, a kid left alone by their parents, at the edge of like the slide pool, and fell in. I saw. It was like a stupid place where you can't really throw anything because it's too far away to throw something. So you kind of have to kind of jump in because there's another person on the other side of that pool, like there's another lifeguarding post. But by the time you've communicated to that person, like you need to look down and jump right now, because by the time you get to explain that, it's much easier to just jump yourself. But you should not jump, like that should not be your default, because that's unsafe. Um, but I've rapidly worked out, like I can't throw, I can't do a dry rescue, I can't throw anything, I can't communicate fast enough, so I'm gonna jump. Um, so I got off my chair, I jumped, and this kid could not have been underwater for more than 10 seconds. And I mean, by underwater, I mean, that thing of like, they get to the surface, they try to grasp for air, they go back down, they go back up, they go back up. There's 4 phases to drowning. Fun fact. That's the first one, which is like the submersion phase. Um sorry, the panic phase. Jesus Christ. The panic phase, the first phase. Um Not damaging at all. There's 4 phases and only the 4th one is damaging. There's a lot of time, believe it or not. There's actually like, you know, we were shown videos while we were in like the course of like drowning, an actual drowning that was caught on a security camera. It is crazy how long drowning takes. Um Bad way to go for sure, but also like for a kid, like if you see it happen, if you respond within 30 seconds, they are fine. They may have swallowed some water, but they're fine. We all swallow water when we go swimming sometimes. Um, they might be a little panicked, but there's no damage, right? In order for damage to start, that takes, depending on the situation, but you would have to be at least submerged for at least like a minute. So I see this kid, again, could not have been more than 10 seconds. He was fine. I saw it immediately. I just needed some time to calculate, and I needed some time to get there. Um, so I get off my chair, I jump in, put this kid back on the giant, like on the dock, and I ask him, like, where's your parents? Because he was a small kid with no floaties on. Um, and as I'm standing there, and he's like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. Um, this I think his mother comes running again with clothes on, not in the pool at all, comes rushing in because I assume that she saw me jump in to save him. She did like, I don't know where the woman got the pathos from. It was a movie. She ran, it looked like in slow motion. She was screaming like, "My baby." And she had a towel with her or something, and she wrapped the towel around the kid, and she was like, "Are you okay?" Like very dramatic. And I told her like he's fine. Um I wanted to be nice. I just wanted to comfort her and be like, he's fine. He's okay, but also don't leave your kid alone like this, because this is what happens. And I was nice about it. I was a little like trembly, because you always are after a save like that, because it's just the adrenaline going. So I was a bit like unstable on my legs, but I was fine. But just saying like, he's okay. Um I get back, there's always like a little bit of like an awkward thing because you're wet, and so it's like, do I go, because technically after you've done a save, usually they kind of allow you like 5 minutes to kind of go and decompress or maybe take a quick shower depending on what you want. The water's pretty cold right now. It wasn't that cold back then, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here on my post, just and just kind of wring out my t-shirt and wring out my shorts and stuff and be done with it. um And as I'm sitting back at my post and just trying to kind of breathe through that adrenaline, um, this the man, which I think I'm assuming was the father of this boy, comes up to me, and at first he's just next to my chair. So I'm like, "What's up? What do you want?" Um, and he goes, "He fell in," and I was like, "Yeah, he did." And he I don't remember exactly what words he used, but basically he was saying like, "Why didn't you act faster?" And I was like, "Excuse me?" And he like moved from next to my chair to like in front of my chair. And so, like those like high lifeguarding chairs, they have like a ladder in front because you climb up it and stuff. Um, I make a point of it, which is very normal, that there's supposed to be nothing in front. Sometimes people want to like chill in front of that. I'm like, that's please leave because like I can't go down. Or like if something happens and stuff, I'm gonna have to kick you in the head to let you, to put you to the side. I don't want to do that. Um, so he got in front of my chair and I told him like, can you not, like, can you move, please? If I need to intervene, or just like he blocked my way out, right? So I was like, can you not do that, please? And I think that kind of set him off a little bit because he ended up like climbing onto the ladder to kind of be like in my space. And, I'm trapped. I can't go anywhere. And somehow in my head, I had this thing of like, if he grabs onto me now and he pulls me off, like I'm fucked. Like if he yanks me backwards, I'm gonna die. Not die, but like I'm gonna like fall into the pool and hit my head or something because I have nothing to brace me on. Um, so I kind of felt unsafe in that moment, and he was very angry too because he was like, he thought that I was like going at him. He thought that I was angry at him. He thought that I was like threatening him. I'm like, I'm not threatening you. You're the one who's threatening me, babe. But it's just like, why are you in my space? Why are you mad at me for saving your kid? I think he thought that that kid was like permanently brain damaged or something. When I told them specifically, I'm like, he's fine. Like, if you've ever been in like a tide pool or like what's that called, like a rapid river or something, I've nearly drowned. Like, I've had moments where I was like, oh fuck, blah, and I'm a lifeguard. I'm a good swimmer, you know. So it's that where it's like, trust me when I say your child is fine. And I think he just thought that I acted way too slow or something. Um, that was so stupid. That was crazy. Um, yeah, I like again, it was just a matter of like I motioned to the lifeguard on the other side of the pool to kind of be like, help. We didn't have walkies back then. Um, so it was like I just had to try to get his attention to be like, hey, I'm kind of in a pickle here. And then he ended up calling security. Security ended up coming, and that was that. Then he started arguing with the security. I'm like, I'm fine as long as you don't as long as you get off my fucking chair. Yeah, I mean that kind of stuff. That's the biggest like thing is like you see it happen so much, and it's just so saddening in a way how little people care about their kids in that sense, or how much they have faith in us when it's like that's not a good idea because I don't remember. That's the thing. I don't remember a single thing when I look at the pool. I'm scanning because like there's like a lot of people who are like, oh, like the lifeguard is looking at me and like, oh, that's embarrassing because I did something or like whatever. I'm like, I promise you, I'm not looking at you. I'm seeing you, but I'm not looking at you. I don't care that you're doing something embarrassing. I've seen plenty of embarrassing shit, but I'm just looking for like problems. And if you don't register as a problem, then I'm going to move on from you, right? Um so yeah, I mean, that's just really sad that people just yeah, don't care about their kids that much. The least you can do is just put floaties on them. If you're gonna abandon them, at least like let them have a modicum of a way to save themselves. Um, but yeah, I mean that's basically it. It's just every day is kind of the same. You just see these little kids, you just watch them every now and then. You gotta jump in or grab something. Um, every now and then you get like a bigger thing with someone not being okay or something. But I've never had to resuscitate. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think if there's like a good like a tip from like a lifeguard or something that I can give to kind of wrap this up because I've been yapping for a while about lifeguarding now and I wanted this to be A learning experience. Okay, so I said the thing with, okay, the drowning phases, maybe. I need to remember them. Hang on, because I learned them in Dutch. I need to translate them. Okay. So the first one is like the best translation I can find is like the scared phase. I said it earlier, but I forgot what I said earlier. But it's basically like a kind of thing. So a kid falls into the water or something they're not supposed to, and the first thing they do is kind of panic. And that's the thing, is because they panic, they have their mouth open. They tend to, at least. This is not like a standardized thing, but so the first phase is basically just like them kind of like going up and down and kind of just like bobbing and kind of being scared, mouth open. Um, Sometimes people are like, how can you tell people who are like fake drowning or like, acting up to like an actual drown? How can you tell that apart? And it's very easy because there's a look in people's eyes when they drown that you cannot fake. There's a panic, a very raw, visceral panic in someone's eyes when they drown, or when you see that they lose control. Um, and that's, people don't fake that, or they don't think to fake that, thankfully. Um, Also, like people who splash around, because splashing around is very, um, like a drowning thing to do, because you're trying to just get leverage on the water. So you instinctively kind of try to jump up out of the water. Um, That's a reason why some pools have a no splashing rule, just because it's easier to look out for that splashing, both in sound and visually, when there's no other splashing. We don't have a no splashing rule. Um, and also, people think that drowning involves a lot of help. I'm drowning. People who say help a lot. Um, People who drown in like a crisis situation don't talk. Drowning is a silent killer, which is why it's so dangerous, which is why you need to be on the lookout for it as a lifeguard. People who yell help have enough time and oxygen to be able to breathe on their own, so they don't yell help. If you're genuinely in a crisis situation where you keep going under, if you go up, you don't have the time to go, help, please, I'm drowning. You just go, and then you get pulled back under. So it's silent. That's the first phase. The second phase is submersion phase. So it's like I need to double check what I'm like, because they got me doubting myself. I just want to make sure that I'm doing it right. Oh, that was a bad website. Hang on. Just want to give accurate representation here. Here we go. Okay. The first one, that like scared phase, is a submersion phase. Yes. So it's like the up and down bobbing thing. That's it. They're panicked, but they're conscious. And so the second one is called the apnea phase, or the swallowing phase, which is where they are unable to kind of hold their breath, because you go up, you do, and then you hold your breath, you go down again, you go up. That's the first phase. Second phase is when you start like kind of swallowing water, and then they start coughing as soon as they get back up and stuff. That's kind of that phase. Third phase is the inhalation phase. So that's when, the apnea turns into actually inhaling water. And so that's when that kind of the hypoxia starts, because that's when you just don't get enough oxygen because you're swallowing water. At this point, you're like underwater. So the third phase is completely underwater. And then the fourth phase is the damage phase. That's obviously when the hypoxia becomes so great that there's actually that brain activity is starting to cease and stuff like that. Now, realistically, that fourth phase, it only comes, like I said, after at least like a minute. Um, and if you time out a minute is long. A minute is very long if you're in crisis mode. Our rule is mostly a 10-20 rule, as in you have 10 seconds to see it, you have 20 seconds to act upon it. So you have 10 seconds to spot that someone's in trouble, and then, like I said earlier, you kind of have to think about your options. Do I communicate to someone else who's closer? Do I go for it? Do I use a tool? Is it because, like if you have very young kids, they don't always have the reflex to grab for a tool. Um, Stuff like that. So the analysis of it and then actually acting upon it and stuff is 30 seconds. And then technically you have about a minute, I think, to get them actually out of the water, depending on the situation. If someone has like a neck injury, spinal injury or something, then you can obviously take longer as long as you do it right. Um, but yeah, so if you see like all of the rescues that I have done in my years and years of doing this have all been that first phase. You see it immediately, they just bob up and down, you just grab them, you put them up, and then they just kind of cough a little bit or they just cry, and that's it. I thankfully haven't had to see like or like deal with anything beyond that, which is good because that means that I'm alert and I see I see the issues and I can act upon them quickly. I've also had rescues where I threw something and it was completely unnecessary and they were just staring at me like, what are you doing? Which is always kind of embarrassing that you kind of misjudge a situation so much that they're just like, why did you do that? Um or like you think they can't stand because they're like going up and down, and then you throw something and they just like stand up out of the water. And it's always like a beat of awkward silence where it's like, misjudged that, but I'd rather, throw one time too many than once not enough. Um, so I think that's like, a learning experience. I think if you're a parent or if you have or you babysit or whatever the situation is, please take care of your children, please. Arm floaties, not the best, not what I would default to. I think the best thing uh I have seen is like actual like life vests. Um, but you also have to be mindful of vests that are too air heavy in the front. Technically, it's better to have a weighted vest in the back because then when something happens, they float on their back. I've seen some life vests that are very front heavy, and then when something happens, the kid just gets kind of pulled forward, but then sometimes they just land under, with their face under the water because they're kind of pushed onto their stomach. Um, so I think that's good. Those circular, like, I don't know what that's called, like, like the circular band things that they can use, not a good idea to use solo. If you use a circular band thing in combination with arm floaties, that's also a very safe option. The thing with arm floaties is they often don't get inflated enough, so sometimes they just slip off. I've seen these things slip off of kids and kids just straight up sink because of it. Not good to just casually use. And the thing with the circular bands is that if your kid raises his arms, they can just slip all the way down. Um, those circular band things really bank on kids kind of grabbing onto it with their like upper arms. And the second they don't, like it goes wrong. So combination arm floaties, circular thing, big yes. Either one of those solo, I wouldn't do. Life vest is preferred, actually, and ideally weighted to the back. And no matter what happens, just stay with your fucking kid. That's not rocket science either. Um, I think that's my biggest tips. I'd love to do like an episode on like first aid and stuff, but my thing is like I'm so convinced that there's people who do it so much better than me, and people are gonna fact check me and stuff, and I'm horrified at the thought of that. Um, but I hope this was fun. I hope this was pleasurable in a certain way. I hope whoever's asleep right now did not just randomly wake up to me going, so anyway, that's when the hypoxia starts. I didn't mean to traumatize anyone. Um, Hey, thank you guys so much for being here if you're still here. Let me know what you want me to talk about in the next episode of this. I'm actually kind of excited to keep this going, so I hope you guys are too. I hope you guys appreciate it. Let me know what you think. I think I've said that like 20 times already. Stay safe if you're in Europe, and we are not used to the heat. Stay hydrated, stay cool, stay indoors if you can. Don't be in the sun all day like me. And hey, I will see you guys in the next one, hopefully. You guys have a good day.